You are listening to the FlowRadioNetwork.com podcast.
Hey, I'm pastor-tabatha.
And I'm author Kalila Johnson.
And we wanted to say welcome to Let's Talk About It today. It's a great day to have the conversation.
Wow. Today we have on our show Judge Glenda Hatchett, the National Hatchett Law Firm. Also, you've seen her on TV on our Judge Show. She also is the attorney for the wrongful death suit of Philandro Castile, who was killed. You would have watched that on Facebook Live, who was killed by an officer. And what an amazing author, inspirational speaker. You don't want to miss today.
Don't you move. Don't you move. Don't you miss it. We're not talking to Judge Judy. We're talking to Judge Glenda Hatchett. Stay right there. We'll be right back with the conversation. Let's talk about it.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station, FlowRadioNetwork.com.
Hey, it's a great day on Let's Talk About It. I'm pastor-tabatha.
And I'm author Kalila Johnson.
And we are excited because today we have the Honorable Judge Glenda Hatchett. Yay! We're absolutely delighted to have you join us today. Thank you.
I am thrilled to be with you. I've been looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And we're going to try to be on our best behavior because we do not want to be in, contempt of court.
Right, contempt of court.
Yes,
you don't have to be on your best behavior. We'll just keep it real today, right?
Oh, I love that. That's what I love most. Listen, we are absolutely excited. I know that you have books that I'm excited to know just a little bit about. Say what you mean and then mean what you say, and then dare to take charge. Right. How to live your life on purpose. I love that because I believe that a life that's not lived on purpose is a life that's going to be lived in pity. And so could you tell us a little bit about both? Can we talk a little bit about both these books, especially the Dare to How to Take Charge and Live on Purpose? What inspired these books?
Right. The first book is actually a parenting book. Say what you mean and mean what you say. You know, really, Pastor and Leah, I just had too many people in my courtroom, just kind of throwing up their hands. And I'm like, no, parenting is for real. This is a commitment that you got to make. And if children didn't need parents, God would have sent them to earth grown. And I say that over and over, that they need parents to shape their direction, to give them some. And so this is what this book is, just practical lessons for parents, because one chapter I talk about no means no. And what happens is that kids will wear you down and keep asking, and then parents say, Judge, I got just tired of him asking me. So I said, yes. I said, what kind of sense does that make? Because kids are born to test us. I mean, they are here to see if they can, push it. We did it when we were kids, if we're honest about it. So this was just my way of really hopefully helping some parents, not so much in a, I know everything and you should do what I say. No. Because the first line in that book says, I was not a perfect child and I have not been a perfect parent, but I have tried very hard to get it right with my sons. And so, it's a conversation. It's a process. So that's what that first book. The second book was so many people not finding their way. And so I decided that I needed to write a book. After my first book, I said I'd never write a second book. It's like having a baby and you remember what labor pains were like. I'm like, no, you're not doing that again. But so many people came up to me or would, write me at the studio or whatever and say, I'm stuck. And that's not necessarily people who have fallen on hard times. It was all kinds of people who might have been the single mother who dropped out of school, but it could have been the wealthy executive who just didn't feel fulfilled. You
Wow.
know, had all the money, had the position, had everything he thought he wanted, but still his life seemed empty.
Wow.
And so it was written for everybody, the whole gamut of people, people who were grieving, who lost people,
Mm.
loved ones through tragedy or dealing with serious illnesses. And it really is a challenge. It's
Wow.
a dare. Dare you. I
Wow.
dare you to take charge. And so at the end of every chapter, there are a series of dares.
Wow.
And DARE, the acronym DARE, stands for dreams are realities every day.
Oh,
But
wow.
you got to stretch to get it, you see? And so it was like, when I do speeches and I talk about how when we were kids, the we'd say, I dare you. And if it was really serious, we'd get all up in the face, like, I double dare you, right? And so that's what this book is. It's daring you,
Wow.
and it's a compilation of stories. Some of them I changed the names of people who've been on my show. Some people I changed the names because I knew them in real life. Some of the stories are my own personal stories because people say, "Oh, you're on TV. You've never been through any hard times." Well, that's not true. And so it is really how we deal with it. And there's one chapter in particular that talks about whether you're going to be a victim or whether you're going to be victorious.
Mm.
And you gotta think about that. And in the very first chapter is how dare you not? You've
Mm.
been given this life, and I tell this story about my great aunt, and I wasn't going to tell the story because I was embarrassed, to really tell the story. I'm like, no, I got to start the book with this story about the day I almost gave up on my dreams
Mm.
and was going to drop out of law school. And so I tell that story and I talk about just the sobering conversation that my grandmother's sister, who was like my third grandmother, had with me. How dare I not
Mm.
take charge? How dare I not,
Wow.
use the gifts that God has given me? So I've gotten so much feedback from this book. I mean, the book has been out for several years, and people keep saying, Judge, when is the workbook coming? I need the workbook. I need more. I need more.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just need to clone myself. Days like that, I need to clone myself because I do realize that I do need to do a book for a workbook companion for it. But I did record it in audio for, working people. They're commuting on the subway or the train or the bus or whatever. And I did do the audio version of it, and I recorded it in my own voice. Now, it is a little bit abbreviated, but it is recorded in my own voice, and people have loved that. They said, I stick it in my car, I listen to it on my computer when I'm traveling or whatever, and I want to touch as many people as I can with that message.
Wow.
Really dare. I dare you. I
I love
dare
that.
you to take charge.
I love that. I love that. And Judge, we wanted to say thank you for daring us, and please don't ever stop daring us because we need to remember that dreams are realities every day. I love that, and I'm going to begin to communicate that.
Yeah, dreams are
Yes.
realities every day. And sometimes there's another chapter in the book called Joy Journal because we need to get in the habit of writing down even the simplest things that
Mm.
bring us joy
Wow.
because we overlook joyful things, and we need to get in the habit of
Right.
looking for them, acknowledging them, and celebrating them. Because
Wow.
it's easy to talk about what went wrong.
That's right.
I mean, that's easy.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I'm starting that. I'm starting to remember and communicate every day that dreams are realities every day, and I'm going to take a little time to
Dreams are
celebrate
realities
joy
every day.
in my journal. I'm going to do that. That's great. Judge, let me ask you,
Yes,
because
do.
with a great book such as Dare to Take Charge and How to Live Your Life on Purpose, and I know that you do a lot on education, on perseverance, on value, faith, and integrity, and such as your book on purpose. I would like to know, can you share with the audience how you really became exposed or in touch with what your own purpose really is in life?
Well, I'll be the first to tell you that, and I talk about this in the second book, Dare to Take Charge. I will tell you, Pastor, people say, well, how'd you find your purpose? I'm like, no, honey, my purpose found me. And
I
I
love
tell
it.
that story, because I was running in the opposite direction,
That's great.
um, because I thought I had my life planned. And
Mhm.
God had a very different plan for my life. I was the highest ranking woman of any color, African American, Asian, Hispanic,
I love it.
whatever colors we got in the world. I was it. I was
Say
the
it.
highest ranking
Yes.
woman of color, period,
That's wonderful.
Wow.
worldwide for Delta Airlines.
Wow.
And I thought I would retire from the company. I was a senior attorney. I hadn't lost a case. I thought I was, bad to the bone. And I was like, right? And then, and I tell this story in more detail in the book, but the short version of the story is that there was a woman who had been the juvenile court judge for more than 20 years. And someone I respected and, really admired and da 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 da. And she died. And
Wow.
some people in the community came to me. One in particular came and said, Glenda, we have been talking about this, and I really want to meet with you. So I asked my father to join the meeting, who my father has gone on to glory now, but was and will always be my hero and my counselor, and I consider him my closest friend. So Dad came and sat with me in the meeting, and they were like, we want you to apply for the juvenile court position. I hadn't even been inside a juvenile court.
Wow.
That was just, my plan was to become an
Hmm.
executive vice president at Delta Airlines and retire. Plus,
Wow.
I was flying. I could fly all over the world.
Right.
And plus,
Right.
I was like, I was riding high,
Yeah.
you know. But God had a very different plan for me, and I didn't want to listen to that at first.
Hmm.
I'm gonna be honest. And so my father said to me after the meeting was over, he said, Glenda, before you decide, you need to pray about it. And
Mm.
I'm thinking, pray about what? That was my inner voice. Clearly, my
Right.
sisters, I want y'all to be both clear. I did not say that out loud to my daddy, right?
Absolutely.
So fast forward, and I'll be honest about it. I did a yo-yo prayer. Lord, what you want me to do? You don't really want me to give up my job.
Hmm.
You know how much money I'm
Right.
making, how much money in
Right.
my stock options, and. But the more I wrestled with it,
Hmm.
God was wrestling with me.
That's good.
So I came to a place of peace, and I thought, if I'm going to ever try to make the difference in children's lives and families' lives, I'm going to have to step out because, I could win multi-million dollar lawsuits for Delta. Was I helping anybody? Was I
That's
changing
great.
anybody's life?
That's great.
And so it really came to me that if a child at 15, if I could get my hands on her or him, that, perhaps we wouldn't see him in the criminal justice system at 25, 35, 45. And so that is what happened.
Wow. That's
It,
great.
it, it was me getting to that court, really finding my purpose
Right.
and my passion in work that I never thought I would be doing.
That's great. That's great.
Wow.
That's great. I love that. Now, let me ask you because you speak so adamantly and, should I say, without any reservations about your faith in God and how you are a woman of faith. How does that, or how do you merge your faith with a practice that does not necessarily, should I say, that's not necessarily faith based? How do you do that?
Yeah. Well, under the Constitution of this country, there is separation of
Mm.
state and church, right?
Right.
But there's nothing that says that I have to separate my faith from my soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so my faith defines the woman I am. And although I'm clearly dealing in a situation and systems that are not faith based, I think it still empowers me and informs me of what I believe I have to do.
Right.
The prime example is the most recent example. I shouldn't say prime, but the most recent example is my decision. Oh, thank you so much. All right, you okay? Thank you. I'll see you Wednesday. So I'm sorry, my staff came in to tell me something. So long story short, I really made the decision to take on the Philando Castile case.
Mm-hmm.
The nation watched as his girlfriend did the live streaming after he'd been shot and shortly later died from the gunshot. And so I am in a system that's not faith-based, but my faith drives me for my passion to seek justice, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So that's where I am. So and I've said to people, I've said it to my client that I am not doing this. I'm not doing this to gain notoriety. I've been on TV for 15 years. Mm-hmm. People know who I am. People know my name. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to be out here,
right,
hogging the spotlight, trying to have press releases and waving my fist in the air. It's not how I operate. But I am determined to work as hard as I can to bring about justice in this case, because I think that if there is, and you might want to go back and pull up my press conference online, but we got to do it differently in this country, and we've got to move from rhetoric. Excuse me 1 second. You all need me?
I love that. That's
I'm on
called real work.
Radio interview. Radio interview. But don't stay if you need. Okay, I'm sorry. We got lots of stuff going on in the office today. So bottom line, if we can't get it right on this case, I don't know how we can get it right.
Wow.
It's a man who's had the same job for 13 years. It was not a felon. Wasn't fighting the police. Wasn't running for the police. He just was complying. Guy asked for his registration. The cop asked for his registration and license, and he was reaching for it. And the cop shot him. I think he panicked. So I don't know what he did, but I know he killed my client's son.
Wow.
And so we have got to do it differently. And I said in the press conference, we've got to move from rhetoric to a more meaningful reality, a systemic reform in this nation, because we're seeing this over and over and over again.
I love that. I love that.
Wow. And I saw that press conference, and I tell you that it moved me, especially for me, because I have to tell you, Judge Hatchett, I am a fan, and I'm not just saying that. I was a young woman. I was a young woman that had a very troubled life, and even a teenage mother. And at that time, I remember watching you and saying, I really wish she was my mother. Not because, but it was sweet. it was that compassion that you had that was so amazing. And I was thinking, no one's like that. Is she really like that? And because it was so natural, and I could tell that you really cared for the youth.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You cared.
When I did that television show, I told them, I said, if you're looking for a black Judge Judy that's going to just put people down, I am not the person. No. I'm just keeping it real. No.
I love that.
It's amazing.
I'm not going to make fun of people. I'm not going to try to embarrass them. I want my goal was for people to leave in better shape than when they came in. And that doesn't always happen. But that was my goal in trying to help people.
And that helped.
I cared about them.
And that helped me because, it's an amazing thing when you can see someone that doesn't judge, and you see these people and these kids that I knew what they felt like, and what they feel like. They feel like they are cast out. They're no longer. Nobody wants them. There's no hope for them. Look at what the mistakes that they've made, and they come from sometimes families that may not know what to do with them. And so when you show that compassion and you saw the potential, you were speaking to me. And I have to tell you that you are one of the main influences that I'm here today, because I remember hearing that. It is an amazing thing. And I have to ask you one of the questions.
That just touches my soul. And you all don't have to stick to the questions. You all can ask me anything,
But these are good questions. So we want you to just we want everything that you have to release, because it's so much that we can get from you to just help our lives be better and help these listeners just get a sense, get a hope, get a vision that their lives can be better. I'm excited about this.
You said that you had, a hard time when you were in law school, and you just talked about that. And
yeah, you know why? Because I was
yeah.
working a full-time job
Wow.
and going to school full-time.
Wow.
And just, because my parents had, sacrificed for me to go to college, and my brother is 4 years younger, and I had another brother 9 years younger, so I knew they had other children to educate. And but you just can't give up. You just got to keep going and do what you need to do to get it done.
Now, how did you manage to do that? Because I know what it feels like every time you're about to, you're reaching a new level of pressure. That
I was crazy. I was crazy. I was crazy.
Determined.
Just gonna keep it real with you. I was crazy.
Well, wait. Well, let's just keep it real, Judge. Judge, can you speak to the person, to the woman that's possibly right where you were, feeling a little frustrated, a little overwhelmed, and feeling like this is not possible?
That's where you have to dig. No, you just have to dig in, and that's what I talk about in the book. My aunt told me. I hate to give the whole book away, but my aunt told me, but I hope people will read that chapter. That she asked me, "Do you want to be a lawyer?" And I'm up there, whining and carrying on and acting the fool and crying and, like, okay, I can't do this. And she stopped me and she asked me one question: "Do you want to be a lawyer?" And I was so choked up I couldn't answer. And she said, "If it were easy," and I'll never forget this, and I talk about it in the book, "if it were easy, everybody and their mama could do it. But it's not easy, and you have been uniquely blessed and situated to do what you start out to do." I got my butt off that sofa that day with a whole new determination and attitude, like a rod in my back. And from that day to this, if there's been anything important to me that I really wanted and needed to do, I just had to figure out how to get it done. So law school didn't get easier. I still was working full time, but I just had to get it done.
Wow.
And what if I had given up that day?
That's great.
What if how different my life would be?
Wow.
That's powerful. So you talk about in your speaking engagements how your parents were and your family were great influences in your life. And I know you just talked about giving you that piece of advice. What would you say was the most memorable lesson that your parents instilled in you, or any family?
Probably by my dad, who basically told me the life lesson is that he wouldn't let me linger at the pity party. That that you have to really write your own story for your life. You have to just take charge, and I talk about that in the book. Take charge of your destiny. And my dad was just an amazing man, as is my mother, who is still alive. And I just am so blessed that you really are the one who's in charge. You really are. You have to take charge. You have to write your own story. You can't let anybody else define you. You can't. You just cannot. Power. And so I grew up, a little colored girl in the deep South, but I didn't realize that, that the world thought that was a negative, because my mama and daddy told me I could be anything. And I believe that,
Yes.
and I'm so grateful for that.
Yes.
Because I'm like, my daddy told me I could, my mama
right.
And that was my attitude. So I remember one time a woman asked me, a young woman, she's a teenager, said, "It must be terrible to be black." And I said, "No, it's not." I mean, she wasn't trying to be vicious, but she'd lived a white privileged life.
Right.
And she said, "Oh, it must be so terrible to be black." And I can tell you, my two sisters today, and everybody's listening, that if I could come back, if I had a choice of how I would come to the world, I would come as a black woman.
Wow.
Yes.
All over again.
Yes.
All over again.
Well, you can't just tell us that without telling us why.
Because it is, my experience have shaped and defined me.
That's great.
Yes.
I, am grateful for my heritage, my culture, my community. And I don't wish to be white.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't. I never have.
Wow.
So powerful. Now, some of our listeners may be saying, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't have that support that you may have had, or I've never even thought about it before now. Share with
Well,
us
you need to
how,
think about it.
yeah,
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 you need
you
to get
do. You
quiet.
do.
Yeah, let me
That's
tell you.
it.
I'm just going to keep it real. You got to get quiet. You're going to find some time
Yes.
before this week is over.
Yes.
Find a time. Is it in a rocking chair? Is it in a bathtub where you tell the kids and your spouse and your family members not to disturb you? But you got to ask yourself that question. Nobody else can answer that question for you.
Wow.
Why are you here? What is your purpose? What are you prepared to do that lives beyond your lifetime? Because it's
Wow.
not just about you,
Yes.
and maybe your purpose is not in your 9 to 5 job. Maybe it is volunteering at Literacy Action to teach a woman to read or a man to read so they can get a better job and so they can read books to their children. Maybe it's helping build a habitat house so that family can get into some decent, safe housing. And maybe it's cleaning out your closet. As simple as that, and giving it to Dress for Success. I'm a big supporter of Dress for Success, and it's in a lot of cities. And if not, there's shelters and there are
Wow.
things that you can do, but you got to figure out what that purpose is. It may not be in your regular work. It may be helping somebody. It may be writing a check for a woman who doesn't have a checkbook so her child can go to music lessons.
That's great.
you know,
That's
and
great.
so that child has something positive to do while you're writing the check for your YWCA or YMCA membership. Write a check for somebody else's a father who doesn't have a checkbook, whose child needs to be in an after-school program. You got to find that purpose, and you got to do it, and you got
Right.
to live it authentically. And I don't mean just a one-time deal like you. Okay, Judge Hatchett told me to
Right.
write a check for this mother who can't afford for the child to be on the softball team. No, you got to
I'm talking
be.
about your
You got to.
life.
I'm
Yes.
talking about your life. What are
Yes.
you going to do? My mother is 94
Woo.
years old.
Amen.
She is amazing. My mother started the AIDS ministry in our church over 30 years ago.
Wow.
She
Wow.
still makes sure that grandparents who are raising their grandchildren because the parents have either too sick to care for them. She is busy.
Wow.
She volunteers at the neonatal unit where children are born crack addicted, and she is busy.
That's
She
great.
is busy, 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 always doing stuff for her alma mater, Claflin University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. She is always helping students and looking out for folk. And somebody gets burned out, she's going to make sure that they've got
Wow.
some pots and pans and some clothing and come into my house. Glenda, you don't need this. I'm taking this to so and so. You know what I'm saying?
I
So
love
if my
mama. I
mother
love
can
mama.
do this at 94, then
No
people
excuse.
don't have excuses. They
That's
don't
right.
have excuses.
Yeah. It sounds like purpose is really when you find something to do outside of yourself and outside of
Yes,
your own survival. And that's where
right.
you find purpose. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My purpose aligned with my profession. I was a juvenile court judge, and that became my purpose and my passion, and it became an opportunity to do that on television. So I'm touching millions of people instead of thousands of people. And I'm grateful to be blessed with those opportunities.
Wow.
That is incredible. I love purpose because purpose gives you something to do. But I like to say that purpose does something for you too. And so
It
I
does.
think that if people are feeling void, and I love what you said, because just because you have a lot of money or you're in a high status position does not mean that your life is fulfilled. It does not mean that you're living in alignment, what I would like to say, with our Creator's design for your life. And I believe that
Right.
there's so much more. And what we want to do today is really push people to really start to seek to live fulfilled lives. And I believe that starts with an outpouring of you into the life of someone else. So that's important, Judge Hatch. You have blessed me today. I want to ask you
thank
another
you.
thing, because I know that you're big on helping to heal hurt. So
Right.
we're not judges, and we don't have the opportunity, most of us, to impact the number of lives that you do
Thank
on
you,
a.
Shay. Excuse me, Sarah leaving. I'm still on the radio interview. Sorry. Thank you. Appreciate you. Sorry.
I love it. This is
Got
real.
25 things we're doing. Yes.
I know it, but that's called
Because you
life.
all know I have a national law firm.
Wow.
I don't know if I knew
Silent.
that.
Yes, it's an
National law
national.
I don't
firm
know that I knew that.
based in Atlanta,
Yep.
judge-hatchett.com.
Huh.
Yep.
I love that.
TheHatchettF, like in Frank, IRM.com. And I'm specializing, and that's why I had to holler down the hall as she was leaving because she had some documents that we're working on. We have to file something in a case that we're working on. But I am specializing in catastrophic injury, wrongful death, and now police misconduct that that results in death or permanent disabilities.
Wow.
So I am representing the Castile family in this case in Minnesota.
Great work.
So that's what I'm doing,
That's
and
great
so
work.
the
So help
national
us.
law firm.
What can we do? Say I'm just what we typically someone's listening that's not just average, but we consider ourselves to just be average. What can I do to really help the world be better? What can I do?
Well, that's why I want you to get quiet. I want the listeners to get quiet because it's not a cookie cutter answer. It's got to be something that really emanates from your soul. Like, what is that you want to do? I can tell you what I do, but that's me.
Right.
But for everybody who's listening, I need you to just get quiet and say, why am I here on earth? Why have I been blessed? I may have lost my job. I may have been battling cancer, but I'm here. I'm still here. Why am I here? And what am I supposed to do? And, I had a woman go back to school because she felt the need to do nursing. And, I had a woman who's volunteering after she's retired because she was a school teacher, but she saw all these children just kind of aimlessly not being in good stuff and being recruited by the drug dealers. And so it is unique to each and every person.
That's great.
Right? It is unique. It might be music. I mean, your passion may be creating music for us to enjoy in the world. And you all have got to see this music video. Speaking of music, Will I Am of Black Eyed Peas reached out to me after Philando Castile was murdered.
Wow.
And he's done a reinvention of Where's the Love. You all have got to go online and see that.
I got it.
Will I Am,
Where's the Love?
It's Where is the Love? And he has all of these people from Usher to Justin Timberlake. All these artists have come in and added pieces to this that is so powerful. Well, that's Will's purpose. I mean, his purpose is to share his gift of music with the world. And so we've got to figure out what that is in our lives and do it. Your purpose, the two of you, my sisters, is to empower people, to empower your listeners. That's what you're doing.
That's right.
That's
right.
That's your purpose.
That's right.
That's your purpose, is to touch people, your listeners, many of whom you'll never meet.
That's right.
But you have to continue to be strong and to speak truth to power. That has to be your purpose.
Truth to power. I love that.
Truth to power.
Truth to power.
You have to speak truth to power.
Truth to power.
And if I can just ever find the time, I am going to do a women's retreat and just sit down and have these serious conversations with women who are searching and trying to find the answers.
Yes.
Wow.
And have a like a day long, maybe a weekend retreat.
Yes.
That's what I'm keep. God has really
Well,
put that on our heart.
we would absolutely love it, and we would absolutely find you and sit there and listen and learn and leave living better. I say we will.
Yes,
I say we will.
absolutely.
I have one last question I'd love to
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
you. I know that
Okay.
you are you're going to create a workbook. We've heard you say that for
Well, I keep saying I need to. I don't know when I'm going to get the
you
chance to
don't
do it,
know
but I
when.
do need to do it.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know when.
Are
I'm
there other
just being
books?
honest.
Okay. Are there other things that
Well,
you
let me tell you
like
my
to do?
priority right now. Let me tell you my real priority now is to build this national law firm.
Okay.
Because I think that the fact that millions of people know me and trust me, I can leverage that for the good of people. I think I can leverage that in the case of Philando Castile. I think I can leverage it because, when I walk in and I say, are we going to get this resolved? And they want to give people a hard time, and then I join the case, and I say, fine, I'm happy to stand in front of a jury. I would love nothing more than to stand and argue this case.
Right.
It's amazing how people get reasonable when I show up.
Amazing.
I love that. That is great.
So,
That is wonderful. That is wonderful.
if somebody has been killed in a wrongful death situation, a horrible accident, or been, shot by the police and unjustifiably, I can show up.
Wow.
And it's interesting. I can sit at a settlement table people have been working on for months, and then I show up, and it's like, I'll be happy to sit here for hours and I'll stay until midnight. But if I get up and leave, trust me, I'm doing the opening argument. And so, if you're in court, wouldn't you want me on your side?
Absolutely.
On that table?
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. And so this is the HatchettFirm.com, the national law firm.
Based in Atlanta.
Based in Atlanta.
So the Hatchett Firm.
I love that. I love that.
Powerful.
HatchettFirm.com. And we're daring you to go to the Hatchett Firm.
We're daring you. Yeah. And I'm so embarrassed. I'm sitting here forgetting the 800 number. Oh, but the local number is 404. Let's see if there's something with the... here it is. The toll-free national number is 844-HATCHETT. HATCHETT. I should remember that. 844-HATCHETT is the toll-free number nationwide. 844-HATCHETT. So if people are outside the Atlanta area, they can call on that number and reach us.
There you
and
go.
There's somebody to answer the number 24 hours a day.
That is incredible. I'm so excited. Listen, Judge, we want to say thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And we be a blessing on you and the work that you continue to do.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. All right. Well, I will get back to work then.
All right. We love you.
You all have thank you. Love you all. And thank you to your audience. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. You all stay right there. We're coming right back with Let's Talk About It.
Live, rocking the nest. This is FlowRadioNetwork.com.
Missed a show? To catch up, subscribe to the FlowRadioNetwork.com podcast via the iTunes Store, Google Play, or via www.flowondemand.com. That's FLO ondemand.com. Flow Radio Network podcast.
Well, Dr. Kalila, I think we've had a great conversation with Judge Glenda Hatchett. I'm excited to take some of those nuggets back. I'm like, everything. I was talking to writing all at the same time.
You and me both. I was over here just soaking up the greatness that we had here on the show and taking every bit of encouragement, upliftment, wisdom that she had to give, and she gave a lot in this short period of time. Amazing woman, strong, intelligent, first African-American woman to sit on a Georgia court bench. Like, what? An African-American person. Wow. Amazing. Just phenomenal.
So much. But you know what? She reminds us that we can do anything. We can do anything. And I'm not just talking to little girls or grown women, but I'm talking to every person under the sound of my voice. We can do anything. There is nothing that we cannot do. So listen, I just hope that you have done more than taking in a good conversation. Really what I want to say, Dr. Kalila, today is let's not just talk about it, but how about we start being about it? And I want you to know that, listen, sky's the limit. If Judge Hatchett said it, we believe it.
There's greatness.
There's greatness. Bam! There you go. There's greatness in you. Listen, you join us next time for Let's Talk About It. You never know who we're talking to. You have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the FlowRadioNetwork.com podcast. Be sure to listen live online at FlowRadioNetwork.com or via TuneIn.com or the TuneIn app. Just search for Flow Radio Network. That's FLO RadioNetwork.com. Click on the orange Flow Radio logo and get into the flow. Missed a show? To catch up, subscribe to the FlowRadioNetwork.com podcast via the iTunes Store, Google Play, or via www.flowondemand.com. That's FLO ondemand.com. Flow Radio Network podcast.